salute to America's lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender veterans. Today's salute is under the aegis of the City of Chicago's Commission on Human Relations, Advisory Council on Veterans Affairs, and the Chicago chapter of American Veterans for Equal Rights, AVERV. We will begin our salute with the posting of colors led by Reinhart. This will be followed by a rendition of the national anthem by Dean Ogren and the invocation by the Reverend Wayne Bradley. All who are able, please stand for the posting of colors and remain standing through the end of the invocation. Color guard, proceed to post the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Bravo!
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us have a moment of silence for all American veterans who have gone on before us, and especially for LGBT veterans, most of whom had to serve under silence. Thank you. Reverend Bradley.
Let us pray. Almighty God, creator of heaven and earth and all that is therein, we come before you this day to give thanks to you for your many blessings. We are most grateful for the brave women and men who serve our country in the pursuit of peace and safety. We ask your blessing on all people in the armed forces. We are especially aware that despite all the odds against them, some who faithfully serve are also gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. Protect them as they too strive to do their very best. Our nation was founded on the principle that all people are created equal. We cherish the fact that you, our Creator, have endowed each one with the gifts of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We are grateful for the amazing changes in our nation's laws in the past few years, but we realize that there are still some obstacles to full freedom. May we never be content with a half-truth when the whole truth can be won. Help us always to remember that while you have indeed blessed our nation, you are the God of all people. May we continue to strive for peace on earth, that everyone, everywhere, may know the freedom for which we would give our very lives. May we truly live up to our sacred pledge of liberty and justice for all. Amen. You may be seated.
Thank you. Thank you, Dean and Lane. I would like to thank the Commissioner of the Chicago Commission on Human Relations and her staff for making the arrangements for the use of Daley Plaza for today's salute and for supplying programs. Even before Mona Noriega became Commissioner of the Commission on Human Relations, she was active in the fight for human rights. She co-founded Amigas Latinas, an organization committed to the empowerment of Latina LGBT women. I am pleased that Mona is with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, Commissioner Mona Noriega.
Well, good afternoon, all. We're just coming off our gay pride. We have lots to celebrate. And today I represent Mayor Mayoral, who issued a proclamation in support and in celebration. And it begins with, whereas throughout the history of America, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender Americans of diverse yet convergent backgrounds have fearlessly defended the principles of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of these United States through their service in the United States Armed Forces, side by side with their heterosexual counterparts. And whereas generally recognized as the catalyst for the modern gay civil rights movement, the Stonewall Uprising of 1969 sparked unified resistance to the widespread injustices faced by all in the greater LGBT community, leading to a resurgence of political, economic, and community activism to gain basic rights. And whereas 1990 lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender veterans formed a mutually beneficial organization now called American Veterans for Equal Rights, AVER, for the purpose of recognizing and appreciating their distinguished military service. And whereas the Chicago chapter of AVER has remained steadfast in supporting and assisting lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender veterans in the Chicagoland area for over 20 years. And whereas while making history day in and day out, American Veterans for Equal Rights has also witnessed extraordinary cultural shifts with the rolling out of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell Repeal Act of 2010, allowing LGBT-identified citizens to serve openly and proudly in the United States Armed Forces. Whereas the members of the Chicago chapter of AVER persist in their tireless work toward a more perfect union, affirming to all, they continue to selflessly give their time, resources, and expertise to improve the lives of all veterans. Now, therefore, I, Rahm Emanuel, Mayor of the City of Chicago, do hereby proclaim June 30th, 2014 to be Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Veterans of America Day in Chicago, and encourage all Chicagoans to acknowledge and salute these outstanding veterans for their brave sacrifice and unwavering dedication to our country and ongoing contributions to the City of Chicago. Rahm Emanuel.
Thank you, Mona. The American Veterans for Equal Rights was founded 24 years ago. We're also known by our acronym, AVER, which means to declare positively. Our president of the Chicago chapter is James Darby, who served in the U.S. Navy during the Korean conflict. Jim couldn't be with us today because he and his spouse, Patrick Bova, are attending a pride reception today in the White House. When the Commander-in-Chief invites you, you go. Our junior vice president and secretary is Edward Wosylus, who served in the U.S. Air Force. Ed Wosylus.
Good afternoon. pleasure to be a member of Chicago chapter of the Ver. And what I'd like to do is introduce the members that we have on stage. We're kind of light. As Larry had said, we are missing Jim, who is our steadfast leader. He was one of the influential people that started the Ver, which is now in 15 countries with 22 chapters in the United States. We couldn't do this without Jim. He is instrumental, and his partner Patrick is also his right-hand man, and they are who get everything done for the LGBT veterans in Chicago. But on stage we do have Larry Simpson, who is the Senior Vice President and Treasurer. And then we have Dean Albright, who was U.S. Air Force 20 years. We have Tara Buckley, who was U.S. Air Force. And we have Lee Reinhart, who served in the Navy and the Coast Guard, was put out on Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but has recently rejoined the military and spent a year in Afghan. He will be speaking in a few moments. We have some members sitting in the audience I'd like to acknowledge. We have Sean Sullivan, who is, I believe, 20 years Marine. We have Michelle Parisi, who was in the U.S. Navy during Vietnam. Do we have any other veterans, gay, straight, in the audience and care to stand? We'll acknowledge you too. Okay, at this point, I will. Okay, thank you.
I thank all veterans for their service to our country. I thank Ed Wosylus and Tara Buckley for transporting the flags and other paraphernalia needed to present today's salute. Our featured speaker today is Logistical Specialist Second Class Lee Reinhart. Lee served in the U.S. Navy in the 1990s. After the tragedy of September 11, 2001, Lee decided to return to serve and enlisted in the Coast Guard. Unfortunately, that did not work out so well for Lee. He was discharged under the flawed Don't Ask, Don't Tell law. After Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, Lee re-enlisted in the Navy as soon as he could. Subsequently, he has served a tour of duty in Kandahar, Afghanistan. We're pleased to have Lee here today to talk about his experiences. Ladies and gentlemen, Logistical Specialist, Second Class, Lee Reinhart.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to read a lot by paper. I don't usually do it. I get emotional, but we've had a busy weekend here in Chicago, as many of you know. And I just finished this morning, so I want to make sure I get it right. Today I wish to begin by saying thank you. Thank you all for coming today. Thank you for the mayor's office, elected officials, Dean for singing. First time I heard you sing, awesome. Thank you very much. My fellow active, reserve, and veterans, you're here. But most important today, I want to say a special thank you and recognition to all those who have never been seen, never had their story told. No one ever gave them a platform such as this to be heard. Their picture was never in the paper. They never were asked to participate in a town hall and was never publicly recognized for their service to our nation and their work to make sure folks like me had a chance to serve again, which I proudly do. These patriots served in silence through the darkest days of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, or long before that. But they did not just serve, they served in silence only to do what they could to work towards equality. They wrote letters, maybe phone calls, worked to elect pro-equality candidates, blazing a path for folks like myself making it, when our time came, a much friendlier environment and gave us the framework to be the lucky ones to see it all end. There are those as well, some sit here today, that have carried the torch and led the charge right here in Chicago. Every month, they meet at a place called Center in Halstead. They march not only in gay pride parades, but every year stand strong, proud, and applauded by the crowd in the Chicago's Memorial Day Parade. Every year, twice a year, They remind us of our fallen as they make the trip to Adam Schindler's, a soldier who lost his life tragically in 1992. They make the trip to his final resting place just south of here to honor his service. It's to all of them I owe the deepest gratitude and appreciation too. Almost 4 years ago, I stood at this very stage and once again called upon our leaders to get the job done and repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Years had gone by at that point, with me telling my story of serving in the Navy in 1995 to 1999, being out to most of the crew without any issues, only to return again in the Coast Guard after the horrific events of September 11, to have my service last only 4 months because of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I asked our leaders then, yet again that day, because I had one request, to make my mother, who happened to be in attendance that day, proud. We did not know then that late December that same year, it would finally happen. It did not happen on one political party's shoulders alone. It happened because members of both parties came together to get it done. Being honored to attend both the House and the President signing the repeal in D.C., a side note here, if you listen to the video, in the background you hear someone yelling, "Mr. President, Chicago's in the house." That was me. I was in the back row, but I was content to be there nonetheless. I knew then that it was the right thing to do, not knowing if I would ever be able to serve again. But it was the right thing to do for those serving in silence and for those who came after us. Again, I was the lucky one. October 24th, 2011, I was honored to have members of my family there, honored to have been given the oath of enlistment by Congressman Quigley, honored to have standing beside me some of the above-mentioned veterans, some here today still, who could no longer serve or chose new paths in life because they could no longer serve in silence. I said that day that I hope my service going forth honors them. I hope I represent all the good that they had worked so hard for. 3 years have passed, one being in Afghanistan. Little did I know in October 2010, I would soon be calling Kandahar, Afghanistan, home for a year. As a military member serving a good length of time in a war zone, we have countless stories and memories. Some we choose to share publicly, some to our closest friends, and some we choose to keep to ourselves. I want to share with you 2 examples of how our military is and will continue to be the strongest in the world. June last year, LGBT members celebrated our first ever Gay Pride event in Kandahar, Afghanistan. Let me say that again, Gay Pride event in Kandahar, Afghanistan. It was a town hall question and answer type setting. There we were, gay and out, in uniform, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, and civilians alike, telling our stories and answering questions from the audience. Up to that point, I had told my story 100 times, but never had I told it in uniform, on active duty, in a war zone. History was being made. Of course, we had our bumps in the road along the way. We first had to change the name from Afghanistan Pride to just Pride, to be sure we didn't offend the locals, which was understandable by all of us, and we complied. What happened the day of the event took many of us, unfortunately, by surprise. Our sponsoring unit of the event chose not to let us have an American flag up on stage with us that day. First, we were told there wasn't one available. That mocked our intelligence, for we all knew every unit on that base had an American flag. My unit graciously brought our flag to use. But when we were told the real reason, that the sponsoring unit just didn't feel it was appropriate to have the flag associated with us in our event. Yes, we probably should have. We could have spoke up more and moved our complaint up the chain of command. But we chose to carry on with the event because it was more important to see the event through. History was being made, and we were aware of that. And we wanted to show that we were there and ready to answer any questions that were thrown at us. Besides the flag issue, the event was a huge success with at least 100 people in attendance. This Pride Month in 2014, I've already seen the Facebook feeds of prides happening again this year on bases throughout Afghanistan, not just in the major bases like Kandahar and Bagram. The American flag is alongside them. It is getting better, my friends. Secondly, I witnessed firsthand the same experience I had on board the USS Cowpen CG-63 in the late 1990s when I served. Being gay and serving does not affect negatively on unit cohesion. Our opponents use that argument time and time again, and it wasn't true before Don't Ask, Don't Tell, during Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and it's not true today. The armed service members know that, has always known that. It's our political leaders and others who seem not want to believe it. Vast majority of our straight brothers and sisters support us. They know all we want to do is be treated equally and allowed to serve openly. Many I served with, I have come to admire, respect, and call lifelong friends, and some are still over there today. We must all remember that. The war is not over. We still have men and women, both military and civilians, that are on the ground in Afghanistan. Never forget this. We all have not come home yet. Our work is not done. Members of our community are still left out and want nothing more than to serve. To my transgender brothers and sisters, I will make sure you have a voice, and I will not forget, and I will do my part to bring about the day you all can serve openly as well. Our LGBT community must not forget about this. Also, members of our military members serve in states that have chosen not to allow or even recognize marriages. Benefits are often sometimes still hard to obtain, and those in charge often hold outdated beliefs that can hinder one's careers. So we carry on in hopes we make those who come after us have a brighter future. Yesterday, 1 million plus people lined the streets of Chicago. Clapped, chanted, USA, 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 as we marched in the parade. Newlyweds celebrated marriage equality. Pro-equality politicians marched. Churches of different faiths and denominations and beliefs showed their support. The list of supporters and marchers could go on and on. Then, of course, you had the protesters. Maybe 15 of them tops. But you know what? That's okay. I freely and gladly serve to give them the freedom to do that in this country. However, our voices are winning. Our communities are stronger. Our supporters are making sure their voices are heard, and equality is on the march, and there is no stopping us. 4 years ago, I wanted the repeal to happen to make my mother proud. She is not here today as she was that day, but I think I have done that. My job now is to make sure as long as I continue to wear this uniform, I make those who came before me proud. Your contributions to all of this will never be forgotten by me, and I will make sure that no one else forgets as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Again, I would like to thank Commissioner Noriega and her staff for arranging for today's facilities. I thank all of the participants in today's salute. And I thank all of you for attending this salute and honoring LGBT veterans. We traditionally close our salute with the presentation of a memorial wreath at the Eternal Flame. This ceremony will conclude with the sounding of taps, played by trumpeters Susan Jones and Melissa Terrell of the Lakeside Pride Marching Band. You are all invited and encouraged to join us for the laying of the wreath at the Eternal Flame at the east side of the plaza. Please stand for the retiring of the colors. Color guard. are the colors.